What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's 2025, and to kick this year off, we're going to do something I've never done before, and that's actually answer questions you ask. I'm going to do an Ask Me Anything. I put out a call about a week ago on my social media channels to say, what do you want to know? With no further ado, we're going to jump right in and answer your stupid questions. First question today is from Mojo's Garden. Mojo's Garden asks, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Well, Mojo, that's a great question. And I didn't have the answer for sure, so I went and talked to my friend Shelly. You see, Shelly sells seashells down by the seashore, and she also dates Peter Piper. So she asked Peter himself, where are his pickled peppers? You know what he said? They're in the fridge. Because keeping your pickled peppers in the fridge is the best way to keep them fresh as long as possible. So if you're making pickled peppers, do like Peter and keep them in the fridge. Thanks for the question, Mojo. That was a good one. Next question comes to us from Omnius Evermind 5833. Omnius asks, if peppers were sentient beings and the spice level reflected their personality, would you be able to eat anything except super hots? Well, Omnius, right off the bat, I reject the premise of your question. Of course peppers are sentient beings. They're plants. They're living things. No different from the piranha plants in Mario. Pepper plants, I believe, they can hear you, they understand what you're saying to them, and they know you're going to eat them. They willingly give up their lives for us because they're delicious and spicy. So no, I wouldn't change anything. I would eat every pepper still. Because I do. And they're sentient. Great question. Our next question comes from Garden Rev. What's your favorite podcast? Is it the Garden Revival BBQ? All right, so confession, no, that's not my favorite podcast. However, when it comes to garden podcasts, my favorite is actually the Joe Gardener podcast. Joe Lample does an incredible job of sharing all kinds of garden-related knowledge in a way that's really easy to understand, but also goes a level deeper, gets into the science, gets into the why behind the gardening. I think he says, get you the why do behind the how to or something like that, right? Really good podcast. If you've never listened to the Joe Gardener podcast, check it out. The Garden Revival podcast, the Garden Revival BBQ, is actually awesome too. I admittedly didn't know about it until Garden Rev asked this question. I went through this weekend and listened to most of the episodes. I think they're up to 8 now, but it's a really cool garden podcast. The Garden Revival community is a Discord community. And so what makes this podcast really neat, not only do they bring on experts in their field to talk about the thing they're experts in, they also answer questions from the community. So BBQ is big burning questions, not just delicious food. So you should check it out. You can find it on all your podcast platforms, the Garden Revival BBQ. Not my favorite yet. All right, next question comes from Rick D643. Rick D is an awesome member of the Pepper Lovers community, and that rhymes. Did you ever actually wear the big hat out in the garden this year? Of course I wore the big hat out in the garden this year. Every day that it was sunny, this thing was on my head. It's awesome. It gives me a ton of shade. It protects my delicate skin so I look perfect for you all in these videos in 2025. And dang, it's stylish, right? So yes, thank you, Rick D. He actually gave me this last year as part of the Secret Santa gift when we did the exchange for the Pepper Lovers community. He was my Secret Santa and he went way above and beyond, including this amazing hat. In what moment did you discover the love for gardening? This came from Prism Pepper Products. Side note, I just did a great review, great because I did it, but I just did a review of a great sauce from Prism Pepper Products that you can find in my shorts. Check it out. Well, I don't know, to be honest. That's one of those questions where it's like, oh, that one moment my whole life changed and I was a gardener. Not really. I'll say my earliest memory of gardening was I was probably 7 or 8, and my mom taught me how to save seeds from your marigolds, right? You get the seed pod all dried up where the flower used to be at the end of the season. And I thought that was super cool. Like, here's these weird little long black and white sticks that are apparently flower seeds. And so I used to help her save all of those, and then we would replant them in the spring. That's probably my earliest and one of my favorite garden memories. So I guess you could say I've been a gardener all my life. But really, I don't know. Today I garden because it's a great release. I work in technology all day long. I love coming home, getting my hands dirty, doing something. And then I mentioned earlier, peppers are sentient beings, right? But no, I love raising plants of all kinds. I think it's really cool to put a seed in the ground and watch it mature into something that's 4 or 5 feet tall, covered in beautiful flowers or fruit. It's really rewarding. It's a hobby that I think more people should get into. Maybe not at the stupid scale that I do it, where I try to grow 150 to 200 pepper plants out in my tiny backyard, but grow something. You'll find there's a lot of joy in it. And while I don't know the exact moment that I started loving gardening, I can tell you that I'm gonna love gardening for the rest of my life. Next question comes from Matt at Matt's Peppers, and he asks, do you wear wigs? Absolutely not. I don't wear wigs. All right, now we have a question from me, Dana Marie. She asks, have you worn wigs? No, I have not worn wigs. I'm not a wig wearer, okay? I don't wear wigs. I have not worn wigs. Ridiculous. We have another question from Matt's Peppers, and he wants to know, will you wear wigs? Come on, guys, this is getting ridiculous. Maybe I would wear a wig one day, but I haven't. I don't. It's just weird. All right, so Duck Chugger asks, what 5 peppers are you most looking forward to growing in 2025 and why? Look, that's a terrible question, Duck Chugger. Okay, it's not a terrible question. It's just because I have no idea how to answer it. First of all, been nice to get to know you on the Discord, Duck Chugger. Continue to grow peppers. It's fun stuff. I think it's really hard for me to answer that question, especially in January when I haven't even made my grow list for 2025 yet. I'll say I'm working on a couple of new ornamental crosses that I'm pretty excited about, but those are only going to be like an F3. I probably won't even share those with the public until maybe early 2026, but I'm excited about growing those. I'm also excited about growing the Megatron jalapeno. I got seeds from Matt's Peppers. He also sent me an actual pepper earlier in the season when he was growing them. It was a great tasting jalapeno, but it was huge. It was long, it was fat, a lot of fun. I think it'll be cool to grow those because I love to make jalapeno poppers. I recently did a poll on my channel here, and jalapeno poppers was the most popular way for people to enjoy their jalapenos, according to my viewing audience. So we're connected there. I'll say I am looking forward to growing a bunch of new capsicum baccatums this year as well. A whole bunch of varieties I've never grown before. And I think I'm also really looking forward to some of the beautiful peppers that I got seeds from Daybreaker. Daybreaker does some of the coolest crosses right now that I've seen, that I've grown. He has his own varieties, but also he does a lot of work with beautiful ornamental peppers from other growers and crosses them with some of the coolest photography on Pepper Instagram. I'll leave a link below. Really good stuff. If you want some beautiful looking pepper plants, that's the way to go. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. I really love growing new things. I have almost 800 varieties of pepper seeds right now, and I've grown a little over 350 of them so far. So I have a lot of work to do, grow new varieties every year. It's a lot of fun. I'm also a sucker for ornamental peppers. So Duck Chugger, great question. All right, our next question comes from Spicy McSpice 9122, and he asks, what's the biggest animal you think you could defeat with no weapons from outside the animal's natural environment? For example, no bringing a firearm to a flamingo fight. That's a good question. So, no weapons from outside the animal's natural environment. I'm just going to take that as no weapons. What is the biggest animal I could beat hand to hand? All right. I'm going to say a dolphin. Dolphins get pretty big. What he didn't say is that I had to keep the animal in its natural environment. So a real easy strategy here if you ever need to fight a dolphin, you're going to need a hula hoop, some gasoline, and a source of fire. Because if you've ever seen a dolphin show, you know that dolphins cannot resist jumping through a flaming hoop. So you light that hoop on fire, hold it up, but right at the beach. The dolphin's gonna jump through the hoop because that's their nature, and it'll land on the sand in the beach, and then just stick your hand in the blowhole. You're gonna have to hang out for a while. They can hold their breath a really long time, but 30, 40, maybe 60 minutes later, you're eventually gonna beat that dolphin. I'm confident I could handle that, right? You just gotta be smarter than the animal, not necessarily stronger. Great question, Spicy McSpice. Next question comes from Pepper Pateras. He asks, RZA, Jizza, Raekwon, Ghostface Killah, Inspector Deck, Capadonna, You God, Old Dirty Bastard, Master Killer, or Method Man? That's a great question. As a 90s East Coast hip-hop aficionado, I was always really a RZA fan. You know, I love the way he does production, the way he rhymes. But probably for the last 5-6 years, I would have to say Method Man, because he's actually still putting out great music. And he puts out an album every year or two. The Meth Lab 1, 2, and 3, I think, are out right now. He's doing new work with Prof, Redman, a whole lot of cool stuff. So while RZA has always been my favorite member of the Wu, I think I would have to go with Method Man in 2025. We now have a question from Rare Earth Spice Company, my buddy PC. Part of gardening is rolling with the punches and adapting to the circumstances thrown at you. You had some pretty significant setbacks this year that must have been a struggle mentally. How hard was it to stay positive and soldier on after that hailstorm? How many plants did you lose? How many lived? Can you share some words of wisdom for overcoming such a serious setback? All right, so if you've been watching the channel, you know that back in June, we had a brutal hailstorm that wiped out a huge part of my garden. I had 175 pepper varieties planted at the beginning of the season. I harvested from about 105. Most of those were my ornamentals. They had a little bit better protection because they were right up next to a fence or up next to the side of my house. My raised beds and my other containers, they just got brutalized. All of my space peppers were wiped out, and those were one of my favorites. Again, if you watch the channel, you know that. It sucked, yes. It's also like, it's part of this whole hobby. It's part of this whole like living on planet Earth thing. We don't control the weather, right? Pretty much anywhere you live, you're gonna be facing some sort of a challenge from nature, some sort of a surprise. Very, very few places on Earth are super consistent and you know what to expect day after day after day. I live in Colorado. I live at just about 6,000 feet above sea level. We get some wicked hailstorms, usually early April up to maybe early May, before I really plant out. This year was tough. How do you deal with that? What is a word of wisdom? Don't be too invested, right? While these are sentient beings, we're gonna keep that joke going this whole time. They're just pepper plants. Yes, it was rough in 2024, but in 2025, it's gonna be better. Or maybe something else will happen, who knows, right? One of the biggest things that helped me get over it this year was just this awesome community that I'm a part of, you know, the pepper lovers community, the pepper chums, now the garden revival community as well. There's so many great people on the internet, in your community, next door, wherever you wanna be. Find your fellow gardeners, find your fellow pepper enthusiasts, find your fellow tomato enthusiasts, cucumber enthusiasts, whatever it is that you love to grow. I guarantee you there is thousands, if not millions of other people that also love to grow it. Go find them. Because when I was a little bit down and out of peppers, my friends in the community hooked me up. They sent me packages full of peppers. They knew that they could cheer me up by doing something selfless for them and really impactful for me. I guess really my final advice is just take your garden seriously, but don't ever let it control you. You should be still in control of your emotions, your reactions. Things happen to us all in the garden, outside of the garden. It's up to us how we react to them. We have emotions. It's okay to feel bad, right? But then you got to reframe that and say, okay, something bad happened. Tomorrow's a new day. And it sounds cliche, it sounds stupid, but as I've gotten older in life, being able to really just push past and not get caught up in focusing on what went wrong has been a huge lifesaver. My stress levels are down. I enjoy my time in the garden, even if I'm out there cleaning up a plant that didn't make it. That's an enjoyable activity for me because it's a part of the process. Really good question, PC. Also, huge hats off to you because your garden in 2024 was insane. All right, we've got time for one more question, and this is coming from Pacific Gardening. Pacific Gardening asks, how are you feeling about your Bears this year? Well, buddy, I feel pretty good. So if you don't know, I am a lifelong Chicago Bears fan. There's no Malort in that cup. They had a tough year. I'm a big NFL football fan, but always the Bears are my team, even though I live in Denver for the last 20 some odd years. Always a Chicago Bears fan. They're in another rebuilding decade. But no, seriously, it was a tough year. We also picked up one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen play the game. He's a rookie, he's gonna get better. We're gonna get new leadership in there, a little bit more talent to support that quarterback, and I feel pretty good about the next couple of seasons. It's a long game. Everybody can't be the best team every year. I hate you, Kansas City. And also, the Bears are the best. So thank you everybody who sent in questions. I had fun doing this. If you want to see more Ask Me Anythings, or if you have questions you want to ask, I think we should do a live one. So if you want to see a live Ask Me Anything sometime in maybe the next 2 to 3 months as I'm getting the garden going, leave a comment below. Tell me if you would actually tune in to watch. And remember, plants help us grow.